So we went over yesterday briefly, if you're doing an image for a printed piece, for all of your shoes, I guarantee you everything's going to be in RGB mode when you pull that into your assets folder. So typically what I'll do is bring an image in. Of course, we went over this, but we'll uncheck resample. We'll bring the resolution up to 300. We'll hit OK. Open image size again. Hit resample image. And then we're going to bring it back to its original size. It was approximately 12 in inches. And then we'll choose whether or not we want it to be enlarged to preserve details or smoother. Preserving details might get you some artifacting. You'll typically see that in a JPEG. So it's going to have little scrambled pixels around it. Okay. Almost 99.999% of the time, you're going to want to unlock your background layer. So just double click. Oops, I misspelled cows. I don't care. Okay, and then you're going to typically do that for just about every project. There we go. So when I then go into mode, let me see if I can really demonstrate the major change here if it happens. And then change to CMYK mode. You can kind of subtly see it. In some areas of the grass, you can see the grass is like kind of light yellow. It's a little bit more vibrant. That's just an RGB, CMYK thing. And a lot of other images that you might come across, the change will be really drastic, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, my image is, totally different than what I originally intended. So, typically if the change is huge enough, I'll just manually go in and make the change. So right now I have it in CMYK, and I lost a little bit of vibrance in the grass. I lost a little bit of the vibrance in the sky. So I'm going to go to image adjustments, and I'm going to choose selective color to target the color that I want to focus on, and then use my cyan, magenta, yellow, black ink levels to create the image that it was originally intended to be. So under colors, I'll just hit green, and I'm targeting all the green pixels within this image. And I can just boost maybe the cyan a little bit. You can really see this working a lot better as I'm adjusting it. So I'm adding a little bit more blue pixels into the green grass. And I can add a little more yellow. Kindergarten we learned that blue and yellow makes green, the same concept. They just call it cyan for blue in the print industry. So there you have it. It's before and after. The grass is a little bit greener. Some clients are going to want that, if you're working on a architectural piece or whatever. The architect is going to want the bricks to be a little bit red, the grass to be a little bit green. So it's just something to keep in mind. Layers and layer styles. So I'm going to click selection. Oh, okay. Let's try it. So I can paint. Oh, let me deselect. There we go. Oh, okay. That helps a lot. Wow. Right. Yeah. I like, and locks on to the edge pretty well. That's a great tool. So yeah, I mean, that's a quick selection right there. Here's my mask so I can see what it's selecting. So yeah, much faster than the paintbrush. Yeah, that's a perfect tool for that. So I'm gonna just run over it then. And some of this stuff down here, I guess the contrast isn't isn't really quite good enough, or else my hand is just not steady enough to really get it. So, you know, what I have selected, I'm just gonna select it with my pen tool then, and just minus this from the selection, or minus subtract. So what I'm trying to do here essentially is use my pen tool to deselect that piece of the UFO. So I'll just go to the pass, subtract from selection. Now what I want to do is maintain some of this light here that's emitting off of it. It's a little tricky to like select something like that. So what I'm going to do is make sure that I have my my move tool here going, and I'm just going to Command C, Command V, that UFO layer. You can't really see it. Here it is now. I'm just going to turn it off. And so what I want to do is really just kind of brush this thing and really rough select what I think is going to be good for this light. So really rough. And you know, this is all about experimenting and learning, you know, learning the new tools. You know, I just learned that new tool, you know, today thanks to Gordy. He pointed that out to me. So, you know, really the best teachers are the best students, you know. Okay, so I have kind of what I want as far as that layer. Command Shift I to, I did that twice, but anyways, you know, I'm going to want to select the background piece here. Let me just, oh, nice kind of, yeah, I made a mistake there. Let me go back. Okay, that's good. Okay, so make sure I have my layer selected. Okay. Then I'll bring this guy in. Okay. So kind of rough, but you know, as far as the image is going to be concerned, when it goes into the sky, it's going to be really noticeable. Not, well, it is kind of noticeable. I'm going to get rid of this. This UFO, it's not as big as I want it to be. So I'm going to go to Edit, Image. I'm going to go to Trim. I'm going to turn all the transparent pixels. And I want to just see how big this image actually is 100%. Okay, so 18 and 72. Okay, so I'm going to bring it up to 300 because my other image is 300 ppi. So what I'm going to, the reason why I need to make this bigger is because it's scaling it down to 4 inches by 2 inches. So I want to bring it back to what it was, or at least a little bit bigger. I'll make it 8. And smooth it. Okay. So I got these two layers for my UFO then. Yeah, I like them better like that. Command T to transform. So I'll shrink them down just a teeny bit. Tweak it a little bit like that. So this is super rough. These glowing lines are super rough. So I'm going to grab these two layers here, and I'm going to do a Command G, so I'm going to put them in their own folder. So now these two layers are one unit, right? So I can basically grab one layer instead of two to move some stuff around. The second layer here, I'm going to go in with the eraser tool and really kind of, you know, I could just manually feather that edge, so I'm going to automatically do it. Let me bring this UFO out into the open a bit. Okay. So what I'm going to do is Command A to select the entire canvas, and I'm going to nudge up and down to get an exact selection on the pixels. I'm going to select, modify, and feather. So I'm just going to automatically feather the edge of that layer by quite a few pixels. I'll try 5 and see what happens. So I have a feathered edge on this of 5 pixels. selected. Now I've got a Command-Shift-I to then select the opposite of what I have selected so I can get the feather to work, and I'm going to delete a couple times just to see that edge kind of start to fade away. So I'll just go in a little bit further and show you. So I just delete a couple more. And then I'm going to manually go in with the eraser tool, and I'm just going to soften the brush like 33%-ish. Yeah, even less. So about 10%. Yeah, you know what, a little more. And then kind of add more. So then to make this layer look way more believable, because that's essentially what we're trying to do, is fool the eye here, is I'm going to take this layer and I'm going to add like a filter, or a layer kind of filter on it, just to have it blend in with the background just a little bit more. Let me move this up in the sky where it's going to be featured. So here's normal, and oops, that's the wrong layer. And you know, basically this is again a lot of just playing around with these to see which will kind of make it blend in with the background a little bit more. I don't see it changing. What is happening there? Let's start over again. Turn it off and on. Okay, so that's a more drastic change. That's not going to work. That's light. There we go, something like that. So pin light kind of works. So I kind of see a little bit of the blend there. It's less Photoshop-y looking than that. So that works for me. I'm going to duplicate that layer, maybe. No, you know what? I think it works. I think it works pretty good. So another thing I wanted to go over as well is the blur tool. So some of the reasons why you'd want to use like a blur tool would be to show kind of depth. So even these trees, some of the trees in the background are kind of very blurry compared to the grass in the excuse me, grass in the foreground. So I'm going to duplicate the UFO, make it super small, and just bring it kind of towards the back here. Make it real tiny. Merge this group because it's going to get faded. And I'll go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And I'm just going to blur the UFO so it looks like it's super in the distance. This is probably really a little too blurred right now, so really the way to fix that is I'm just going to make it smaller. So again, we're kind of just manipulating it so it's a little bit more, like believable. And as things disappear in the distance, it'll probably get a little little hazier and a little bit smaller. So just kind of little bit tweaks here and there. That's probably angled a little bit too much. There we go. So something like that. So just you can use the blur tool for a bunch of things. This is just one of them, of course. So this cow here, for instance, he's I don't know, his eyes are pretty dark. I think I'm going to go in and use like the curves here. So I'm going to image adjustment curves. And curves is really what it's going to do for you is tweak the gray balance in an image. So the gray balance is just the just the midtones in a colored image. If it's cyan, magenta, yellow, grayscale, it'll be just the grays, of course. So what I'll do with the curves palette here is just add 2 points to the line, one towards the lower part, the other one up here, and the other one in the middle. And I'll just really tweak the one in the middle to get my gray balance to where I want it to. So I'm lifting it up. The grays are getting really darker. And when I say grays, I mean like neutral color, neutral tones. Because this is a color, cyan, magenta, yellow, black image. So this is a tool that you can, typically I like to use the levels tool, but if you want to get a really precise adjustment, you can tweak this tool a little bit to give the contrast just the way you want it. I'm using this cow here as my focus. This guy looks a lot better. It's good to just tweak things to see if they make things look better. Actually, I'm going to get this UFO to be probably smaller. Tweak things here and there. I mean, you could spend forever like tweaking things. I know I do. Sometimes you just kind of got to go with what's good enough. And sometimes the hardest things for like an artist or designer for me is to kind of say this is it. I'm done tweaking. So let's see. And then finally, I wanted to show. I wanted to sharpen this cow layer. So I always try to sharpen something just in case it makes the image look better. I can always undo it if it doesn't work, right? So I'll do a smart sharpen. And this here is going to show me a preview of what's going on. This sharpen is huge, so the amount here is going to tweak whether or not really the amount of sharpness that's going to happen once I click OK. I also can preview it out here too. And I can turn my preview off by hitting this preview button. So you can really see the drastic change in the grass. If you want that, it's there. And any image you grab can always be photoshopped to look a little bit better. There's a point to having something look over photoshopped though. So again, using your intuition and knowing when to stop is a good thing. So I'll just leave it at that. Depending on the size of the image, of course, it's going to take longer. And save.